Have you ever wondered why some people seem to achieve extraordinary success while others remain stuck in the same place year after year? Why do a small number of people build wealth, influence, freedom, and fulfillment while the majority struggle to reach their goals? The answer is not luck. It is not talent. It is not intelligence alone. The answer lies in the way they think. The top 1% of performers in any field do not simply work differently, they think differently. They see opportunities where others see obstacles. They make decisions based on principles rather than emotions. They play a different game entirely. The truth is that your life today is a reflection of your thinking yesterday, and your future will be determined by how you think from this moment forward. In this audiobook, you will discover the mindset, habits, and mental models that separate the top 1% from the rest of the world. These principles are not reserved for billionaires, CEOs, or famous leaders. They are available to anyone willing to adopt them. So settle in and listen carefully, because this journey begins with a simple idea. If you change the way you think, you can change the direction of your life. The first lesson of the top 1% is long-term thinking. Most people focus on immediate rewards. They want fast results, instant gratification, and quick success. They become frustrated when progress does not happen overnight. The top 1% understand that meaningful achievements take time. They think in years instead of days. They understand that every small action compounds. Just as a tiny snowball rolling downhill eventually becomes enormous, small daily actions create extraordinary results over time. A person who saves a little money every month eventually builds wealth. A person who reads every day eventually develops knowledge that separates them from the crowd. A person who exercises consistently eventually develops strength, health, and confidence. Success is rarely the result of one dramatic action. It is usually the result of thousands of small actions repeated consistently over many years. The top 1% understand this and remain patient while others give up. Another important principle is that the top 1% focus on value rather than money. Most people chase money directly, but successful people understand that money follows value. The more value you provide to others, the more rewards you receive in return. Every successful business exists because it solves a problem. Every respected professional earns recognition because they provide useful skills. Every influential leader gains followers because they create positive impact. Instead of asking, how can I make more money? The top 1% ask, how can I become more valuable? This simple shift changes everything. When you focus on becoming more useful, more knowledgeable, more skilled, and more effective, financial rewards often follow naturally.
The next lesson is personal responsibility. Average people often blame circumstances for their problems. They blame the economy, their upbringing, bad luck, difficult bosses, or unfair situations. While external factors certainly exist, the top 1% understand that blaming circumstances rarely improves anything. They focus on what they can control. They ask, what can I do differently? They ask, what lesson can I learn from this experience? Taking responsibility is empowering because it places control back into your hands. The moment you stop blaming and start taking ownership of your life, you begin to unlock your potential. The top 1% are also obsessed with learning. They understand that education does not end when school ends. In fact, some of the most important learning happens after formal education. The world changes constantly. New technologies emerge, industries evolve, opportunities appear and disappear. Those who continue learning remain adaptable and competitive. The most successful people often spend significant amounts of time reading books, studying new skills, attending seminars, listening to educational content, and seeking mentors. They view learning as an investment rather than an expense.
every new skill acquired increases their ability to solve problems and create value.
Another defining characteristic of the top 1% is emotional control. Most people allow emotions to dictate their decisions. When they feel afraid, they avoid opportunities. When they feel discouraged, they quit. When they feel angry, they make poor choices. Successful people experience the same emotions, but they do not allow emotions to control their actions. They understand that feelings are temporary, while decisions often have lasting consequences. They remain calm under pressure, focused during uncertainty, and disciplined when motivation fades. Emotional mastery allows them to make rational decisions, even during difficult situations. The top 1% also understand the importance of time. Money can be lost and regained. Opportunities can come and go. But time is the one resource that can never be recovered. Every person receives the same 24 hours each day. The difference lies in how those hours are used. Average people spend large portions of their lives distracted by things that contribute little to their growth. The top 1% treat time as a precious asset. They prioritize important tasks. They focus on activities that move them closer to their goals. They understand that how they spend their hours ultimately determines how they spend their years. Another critical principle is the power of habits. Success is not an event, it is a process. The habits you repeat every day shape your future. If you consistently make poor choices, poor outcomes become inevitable. If you consistently make productive choices, positive outcomes become inevitable. The top 1% focus heavily on building systems and routines that support their goals. They do not rely solely on motivation because motivation comes and goes. Instead, they create habits that make success more automatic. Small improvements repeated daily create remarkable transformations over time. The people around you also play a major role in your success. The top 1% are highly selective about their environment. They understand that attitudes, beliefs, and behaviors are contagious. If you spend time with people who constantly complain, avoid responsibility, and settle for mediocrity, those attitudes may influence you. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with ambitious, disciplined, and growth-oriented individuals, their mindset can elevate your own. The people you spend the most time with often shape your standards and expectations. For this reason, successful people intentionally seek environments that encourage growth and excellence.
One of the most powerful lessons of the top 1% is their willingness to embrace failure. Most people fear failure so much that they never fully pursue their goals. They avoid risks because they want certainty. They wait for perfect conditions before taking action. The top 1% understand that failure is not the opposite of success. Failure is part of success. Every setback contains information. Every mistake contains a lesson. Every disappointment provides an opportunity to improve. Successful people are willing to fail because they know that growth often requires discomfort. They understand that temporary setbacks are often stepping stones toward long-term achievement. The top 1% also focus on solutions rather than problems. Average people spend significant amounts of time discussing obstacles, complaining about challenges, and worrying about difficulties. Successful people acknowledge problems, but they quickly shift their attention towards solutions. They ask better questions. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" they ask, "What can I do about it?" Instead of focusing on limitations, they focus on possibilities. This solution-oriented mindset allows them to maintain momentum even when circumstances are difficult. Another key principle is delayed gratification. The ability to sacrifice short-term pleasure for long-term rewards is one of the strongest predictors of success. The top 1% understand that meaningful goals often require patience and discipline. They are willing to invest time, effort, and resources today in exchange for greater rewards tomorrow. While others seek comfort, they seek growth. While others avoid challenges, they embrace them. Delayed gratification allows them to build skills, wealth, relationships, and opportunities that compound over time. Perhaps the most important lesson of all is that the top 1% never stop improving. They understand that success is not a destination. It is a continuous journey. No matter how much they achieve, they continue learning, adapting, and growing. They remain curious. They remain humble. They understand that there is always another level to reach and another lesson to learn. This commitment to continuous improvement keeps them moving forward, while others become stagnant. As you reflect on these principles, remember that thinking like the top 1% does not require extraordinary talent, special connections, or perfect circumstances. It begins with small changes in perspective. It begins with choosing long-term thinking over short-term gratification. It begins with taking responsibility for your life. It begins with valuing growth, learning, discipline, and consistency. Every great achievement starts with a decision. Every transformation begins with a new way of thinking. The mindset of the top 1% is available to anyone willing to adopt it. The question is not whether these principles work. The question is whether you will apply them. Starting today, choose to think bigger, act wiser, learn continuously, and remain committed to your growth. Your future is being shaped by the thoughts you think, the decisions you make, and the actions you take. Think like the top 1%, and over time, you may create a life that most people only dream about.